I'm not saying that those poses are necessarily mean that you're trashy, but maybe that is kind of what I'm saying. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin if you're new here, and today, as I'm sure you can tell from the title, I am going to be doing a video all about giving advice on how I pose in my photos. And before I continue, I just quickly wanted to say, if you're already a subscriber of mine, welcome back. You're probably like, whoa, Caitlin, you haven't uploaded a video other than vlogs in like over a month now. And yeah, you're right. If you are new here, I just started content creation full-time in about February, March of 2021 of this year. And I'm still learning how to balance the whole 2 YouTube videos a week, reels every week, Instagram photos every day, stories, planning, having a life outside of content creation, all that jazz. So I'm gonna go ahead and apologize for not uploading my 2 videos a week, but at the end of the day, I'm actually not sorry because I'm doing the best that I can. But anyway, for anyone who might be new here, my name is Caitlin, like I said, and here on YouTube, I typically do vlogs every Monday and some sort of sit-down video or more informative style video every Thursday on things ranging from fashion, lifestyle, content creation, like this video, hopefully travel soon, you know, beauty, all that good stuff. So if that sounds good to you and you haven't subscribed already, please go ahead and subscribe below. I'm trying to get to my next subscriber goal of 500 subscribers. And again, thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. And actually, before I continue, please go ahead and follow me over on my Instagram at Caitlin Mahina, because I'm going to be doing this video all about how I pose in photos. So I feel like it makes sense for you to go ahead and check out my Instagram over there. And I do like to talk to my subscribers over in my Instagram DMs. I have a much easier time talking with you guys over there. So if you have a question or you want to talk to me, please go ahead and hit up my Instagram DMs, for lack of a better phrase. I don't know, that sounds kind of weird now that I'm saying it out loud. And last thing I want to address before I continue, if you are a subscriber of mine already and you're like, what is happening? What is this new background? You clearly have not been watching my vlogs, which is fine. But this is my new closet office. Yes, that's what it is, closet office. And this is my shoe and bag wall. And I'm really glad that I finally have this up because it means that I have a new background to film in front of. So without further ado, let's get into the video. I do want to say, before I actually officially start giving out my tips though, if you're looking at my Instagram or just looking at me now and you're thinking my body looks different from her, I'm taller than her, I'm shorter than her, I have smaller X or bigger Y than her, whatever the case may be, I just want to say that I'm trying to make these tips as general as possible. And just a quick note here, I just want to say I really learned like some of my best posing tips when I was the heaviest that I ever was in my entire life. It was mid-quarantine and I had this body that I felt really uncomfortable with and that I'm still coming to terms with right now. And I just want to say, like, looking good in photos has everything to do with learning your own body, your own angles, and just genuinely taking photos only when you feel confident. I noticed on the days when it's like, oh man, I have to go get Instagram content, but it's my time of the month, or I feel awful, or whatever the case may be, the photos never turn out the way that I want them to. So I would say, if you are going out to take photos, try to go on a day or during a time when you're wearing clothes you love and it's beautiful weather and you just genuinely feel really good about yourself, because no matter how great your poses might be, you know, you follow tips that you find on the internet, maybe from this video, but your heart isn't in it. I know it sounds really cheesy. The photos are just not going to turn out really well. So little disclaimer out of the way, but now into the actual practical tips. Okay, so I sort of have 3 main tips and then some sub tips underneath that. So my first tip is to find the best angle for whatever it is that you are attempting to shoot. And I know that's not necessarily a posing thing, but I'll try to put some examples here on the side. If you are trying to get a dress in its entirety, it doesn't make sense for you to be like only focusing on posing the upper half of your body. Or for example, if you're sitting down versus standing up, that's a whole different ball game. same. You really want to try to capture a combination of what you're wearing and the background really nicely in the photo, because you might have like the coolest pose in the entire world, but like if your feet are cut off or it doesn't make sense with the background that you're working with, the photo overall is just not going to have the look that you want. So for example, if you're standing, I'm 5'4", so I'm on the shorter end of the scale, and I find that I can sometimes look quite stocky. Make sure that you are angling your camera up so that you kind of have like the longer legs look, I guess. I find in a lot of my photos, again, I'll put examples here on the side, that I look taller than I actually am. And I know, again, that's not necessarily a posing thing, but it is something to keep in mind before you actually start posing. And if you're sitting down, I would highly recommend shooting from up above, because if you're sitting down, no matter what the circumstances is, and you're shooting from eye level, unless it's a very specific type of shot, like I can think of one that I'll put here that I took at a cafe recently, but if you're sitting down and you can like see your legs, I would recommend shooting from above, because if you shoot from eye level, you just tend to look a lot more squished together and stunted, again, no matter what your body type actually looks like. So again, if you're standing up and you want something tall and flattering, shoot from below with the camera angled up. And if you're sitting down and your legs are out or you can see the majority of your body, shoot from above. And finally, if you want to shoot a more close-up shot, like from your torso up, almost like how you can see me here in the frame, I would recommend shooting from eye level. I used to think that it would be more flattering if you shot from below with the camera angled up, but I found that if you're doing that trick for a more close-up shot where your entire body is not in the frame, you get a really good view of like your under chin, your neck, your nostrils. It took me a long time to figure that one out, but it might seem counterintuitive, but if you're taking a close-up shot, really try to frame it as if someone is looking at you, and it just feels a lot more, for lack of a better word, intimate and realistic than trying to look taller by putting the camera below, and then you just get the worst parts of yourself. So my next sort of major group of tips is to work with your background and to work with props wherever possible. So as for background, what's gonna look good in the background that you're shooting in? There's nothing more awkward than seeing someone in a gorgeous background, or, you know, some kind of really interesting background, and they're just standing in the middle of it. Like, I don't know, I just feel like if you really want to make a photo more dynamic and potentially less focused on yourself, for lack of a better term, like again, maybe if you aren't feeling super confident in your body, the best way is to work with your background. So will it look cool if you're like leaning up against something? Will it look cool if you're like looking off into the distance at a view? Just interact with the background as naturally as possible. Like if you're in a really like serious setting, like I don't know, maybe you're in a museum, or you're in, I don't know, some kind of, I can't think of a better example than a museum, just a more serious setting, you probably don't want to be super cheery and happy, and that's coming from me, who's a really cheery and happy person. Like, you'd probably want to go for something that blends in with the background better. But if you're standing in a field of flowers, like I often find myself, you don't want to be standing there like, you know, really going for like the Zoolander, like really posy. This is really awkward to do for you guys, but you know what I mean. And just work with your background, work with the vibe, for lack of a better word. The best example I can think of is, you know, standing like in flowers or in nature, and you're looking really serious. You know, it just doesn't work really well. It sort of makes the overall tone of the photo just kind of disjointed. As for props, I know that you can't always get props super easily in your photos, but it could be anything from a bag to maybe like a drink that you're holding, just something to add interest to the photo. I try not to actually mix photos that have like a really intense, interesting background with props. I feel like that's just too much going on in the photo. That's not always the case, but you know, if you are somewhere and you're like, damn, I can't be in, I don't know, a national park right now, but you still want to have an interesting photo, find some like really cool photogenic food that you could be holding, or flowers, or again, a purse or something. It just really adds interest to the photo. And I used to not pose with props all that much because I, you know, didn't have bags that I really loved, or I just didn't really think about it all that much. And once I started making sure that I either had a really cool background or really cool props, my photo game, in my humble opinion, just stepped up so much, because I found that I'm talking with my hands a lot. Obviously, I'm a hand talker, but I also found that not only do I talk with my hands a lot, but then when it comes to taking photos, I have no idea what to do with my hands. And I realized I was starting to take a lot of photos with like my hand in my hair, like my hand on my chin, and like, you don't want your entire Instagram feed or whatever your body of work is going to be you in the exact same pose. So props really help. And if all else fails and you don't have props, can you work with your outfit? Like for example, with big dresses that I have, or just honestly any dresses that I have, I like to like twirl them and flip them and all these different things. If I have a jacket, you know, put the hands in the pockets, like maybe you're tightening a belt, I don't know, just find something that you can do with your hands if you're like me, and otherwise you're just kind of like. And then my third and final group of tips is to make your photos dynamic and interesting. And if you're like, Caitlin, how are you already on your third set of tips, but you haven't talked about like how to make your body look flattering in photos? This is the tip for you. So I remember when I first started taking Instagram photos, I was doing the same poses that a lot of like the Instagram models were doing. Like, you know, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but like my butt was out so that I could look like I had skinnier thighs, or I was like sticking my butt out so it looked bigger. I was like, you know, just doing whatever I could to try to make my body look more sexy. And I found that honestly, unless you're a Victoria's Secret angel or like Kylie Jenner, those types of poses just look really unnatural and forced if you're just a regular person like you and me, or if you're trying to sort of make your Instagram look more elegant. I'm not saying that those poses are necessarily mean that you're trashy, but maybe that is kind of what I'm saying. So how can you make your pictures look more dynamic and interesting? And the first way that I like to do this is I kind of like to try to tell a story with my pictures. Not only does that make the audience that sees your photos more sort of engaged in them, it's not just you and you're standing there, here's a picture of me. It's something that the audience can sort of have an experience with. So what I mean by that is, like, for example, I'll put a picture here that's coming to mind right now that I just took like a few days ago, where I'm wearing this gorgeous blue dress and I'm sort of longingly looking out over the ocean. And I think I captured that photo something like, you know, pretending I'm in a movie or something like that. I hope that's a good enough example to sort of explain what I'm talking about, but like, this kind of goes hand in hand with like working with your background and working with props. But like, what can you do to make your photo like actually imagine that you're in a movie and you're like looking at a view, or you're like, I don't know, walking down the street, or like you're in a magazine or something. Like, what can you tell, not to get all like top model on you or something, but like, what kind of story can you tell? Are you happy? Is there like, what's going on? And I really find that doing that, like if you put yourself in that frame of mind, rather than like, I want to make my waist look skinny and my boobs look big, like it just, the photo comes out so much more flattering and just wonderful to look at, instead of just like, you know, back to that example of me standing in front of the water. If I had just faced the camera and like done some like, you know, dynamic pose situation, that would have been fine. But the way that I tried to do it, instead of just being like, oh, it's another picture of me in a dress with my boobs out, common theme here apparently, sorry. The way that I framed it, I felt a lot more happy that it was not so much of like a thirst trap looking photo. It was more, you know, romantic, that sort of thing. You can also try adding movement. So again, this kind of goes with working with your background and your props and what you're wearing. Can you twirl? Can you pretend to walk? Can you actually run and put your photo on like shutter mode where it takes a bunch of images? Can you, you know, be eating something or drinking something? Are you, I don't know, dancing even? Like, just what can you do to add movement? I find that whenever I don't know what to do with a pose and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I feel not great about my body, I feel maybe I don't know how this photo is going to turn out, and I try to like just assess what's going on and add some kind of movement or tell a story, I don't even have to think about like putting my hand on my hip and crossing my leg and all that stuff, which I'll get to in a second. Just try to tell a story and your posing will look so much more natural and candid, for lack of a better term. I'm not necessarily suggesting you do the old candid laugh circa like 2016, 2015, but I mean, I've done it before and it's always turned out so much better than just me smiling as if I am getting my portrait taken. You know, interact with the background. And then another thing that you can do to make your photos more dynamic, if you are sort of stuck in a place where it's like, I don't know, I don't have any props, I don't know what story to be telling, whatever, try to make shapes with your body instead of just doing the like, you know, hand on the hip, which works. That is a shape with your body. You are making a triangle. What can you do to like make as many angles with your body as possible? And I'm not talking about like doing some kind of like, again, America's Next Top Model or Vogue, like, you know, like that kind of thing. Like, you know, cross one of your legs over the other to sort of make an interesting angle. Stand with one leg really, really far out. do put the hand on the hip, but try not to overuse this one. This one can look really awkward. You know, maybe put a hand up here, put 2 hands on the hips. This looks really funny. I'm looking at myself in the viewfinder. It looks strange when I'm doing it like this, but again, I'm gonna have example images and video clips of me posing to sort of make this make sense. Don't just stand there. If you're standing there with your legs together and your arms together at your sides, or you're just doing this, like, it's not an interesting photo. You don't look relaxed, you look uncomfortable. Try to make shapes with your body. And my last and final tip of this video is to get creative. I have taken photos before where I've been like, this is weird. Like, for example, I'll put a photo that's coming to mind here that I went to some flower fields and I was like, I don't want to just be the same girl, you know, standing in the flower fields, which would have been fine, but try different angles, try different, you know, movements, try different things, and I can promise you that you will be so much happier with your photos than if you're still thinking along the track of how can I look like an Instagram model, because let's be honest, unless you actually are one, which is probably like, I don't know, 1% of the population, your poses are not going to come out the way you want them to. You're going to be picking apart your body. Again, this is from personal experience. And when I switched over to telling stories and movement and being dynamic and working with my background, I found that my Instagram posing has stepped up so much, and I'm so much happier with how my Instagram feed looks overall. And yeah, that's honestly all I have for this video. I was expecting it to be so much longer because this is a subject that I'm actually quite passionate about, even though it is something that seems somewhat vain. I do find that being able to know how to pose in your photos not only boosts your self-confidence, but honestly, it makes me a lot more time efficient when I already, you know, am going to go shoot content. I'm like, okay, here's my background, here's my props, let's work with this. I find that I get a lot more, you know, seamless, less awkward looking content. So I hope you found this helpful. Again, follow me over on my Instagram to see what kind of poses I'm getting up to. Who knows, maybe you'll find some of my pictures inspiring. You could save them for future reference, which is something that I used to do all the time. I used to save, I actually had a little Instagram saved folder of Instagram poses. I don't have that folder anymore because I figured out what the secret sauce is, which I have just shared with you. So if you like this video, please go ahead and like it down below. It really does help my videos get seen by more people. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and subscribe down below. Like I said, I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers, and that's all I have for you guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day, and good luck nailing your Instagram poses. Bye for now.